Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Pro Wrestling Logic YouTube channel. TNT review series continued as we endeavor through the series. Today we're going to talk about the August 21st, 1984 version of TNT. Some interesting things here. Some of it's a skippable show, but there's a couple segments that can't miss. Wendy Richter interviewed about being women's champion. She's humble, she's clear, she's concise. She talks about Moolah not being a good person. She talks about how liberated she feels. She talks about basically making strides for women everywhere in the sense of being a champion that is more modern, more liberated, and such. And really comes across well, although a bit mild-mannered for a wrestler who usually is outspoken. She endorses Hulk Hogan a bit. Hogan is going to be part of the program later, so obviously endorsing him makes sense. Trying to give each other the rub. Remember, at this point, Hulk Hogan becoming a household name for the World Wrestling Federation, but only months into the reign, his first title reign. And so having the rub of a woman endorsing him helps. I think it makes him marketable and attractive and all that good stuff. But then we move on to what is a very rare segment, if you've never seen it, if you didn't know it existed, the Fabulous Freebirds in the Madison Square. Actually, I don't know. No, this isn't Madison Square Garden, but they do have a match here. The Freebirds against Mr. Blue, Smirnoff, and one of the Valiants in a six-man tag team match. Of course, the Freebirds, in the original iteration, Michael P.S. Hayes, Buddy Roberts, and Terry Gordy. They don't last much more than about a month here. Legend has it that one of the Freebirds, if not more than one, fell asleep during a match and kind of botched things for the others, and so and this was televised. I believe footage of this is still available somewhere if you're so inclined to go seek it out. But basic squash match here is Freebirds do not get the Bad Street USA music. Obviously hadn't been made yet, but still do not get the fanfare that many people thought they should have gotten. Interesting to note that the Freebirds had just come off of the Texas 83 run with the Von Erichs, and you would think it would have been a big deal for them to have stayed in New York for a while, but it wasn't. It didn't materialize. Wasn't to be. Then we go to an interview with Classy Freddie Blassie. He talks about Kamala. He talks about his wrestlers. He talks about being an upstanding individual. He talks about trying to keep everybody under control. He is, put in a position where he's refereeing a match that one of his individuals is in. He is anything less, the Iron Sheik actually, he's anything less than an impartial referee, and they talk about that. They move, basically Freddie Blassie by this point is who made the majority of his money in the LA territory, but was regarded well because everybody liked him because he was kind of one of the forerunners for the brash heel in the 60s and prior. So he obviously got extra respect. Kind of a throwaway segment up next with Vince McMahon and Arnold Skaaland. Coach Skaaland, known as the Golden Boy, who had been around since probably about the 40s or so by this point, around for several decades. Most notable for fans of the 80s era as the 70s and 80s era as the manager of Bob Backlund during his 6-year title reign from 78 to 83. Notable because he's the individual who threw in the towel on Bob Backlund in his the end of his title run, and that's still considered controversial all the way up until 94. When Backlund comes back and turns heel, he actually blames Skaaland for it 10 years later, 11 years later, whatever it is, And so that's kind of an interesting tie-in how wrestling history can be utilized to tell later stories. Then we see highlights of the Haiti Kid and Danny Carpenter. Interesting there, just in the sense of, the midget spots, and actually a shorter referee by the name of Gilberto Roman, who is short on his own right. He actually gets pinned in the match, and they do the typical midget wrestling spots. We see Volkov with Freddie Blassie up next. There's a lot of talk here about, um, you know, things going in the direction of kind of getting chaotic, and for long-term fans, when Volkov was in the mid 70s, I believe that's 74, 75 time frame, Blassie dealt with him then too. They didn't really bring that into alignment, but Volkov talks a lot about how the Russians didn't appear in the '84 Olympics because the last time the Olympics were in Russia, the U.S. didn't appear. One notable thing through these segments is that number one, Volkov doing the singing of the Russian national anthem thing even here, which later becomes standard fare for Volkov, but was a big deal here in 1984. Also, he has a match with John Phillips, and the execution for wrestlers out there, or for people who want to be wrestlers and the like, the execution and the brutality of the backbreaker when he just hoists this young man up and just slaughters him. I mean, really basic style other than that, but that backbreaker is a thing of beauty if you really want to get it over. But Volkov here, this is months before he does the honors for Hogan on one of the original Saturday night's main events in the flag match. And so by this point, Volkov, who's I'd say maybe 6'5", 6'6", and 325 pounds, still a big deal. You know, Volkov comments on his training and how he's never finished training. It's an all the time thing. Speaking of training, we have several segments run of Hulk Hogan in his training vernacular. He talks about Python powder and Python packs, and actually the merchandising of vitamins. No, not steroids, vitamins. For the mainstream market, and the merchandising of protein powder. For those that were around as a fan at the time, I do remember Hulk Hogan chewable vitamins being around when I was a fan as a kid in the 88 through probably 90, 91 time frame before the steroid scandal hit. But did he ever come out with protein powder as an actual sellable thing? I don't remember this. Well, anyway, this is a historic bit of segments here. Actually, on one of the Hulkamania Coliseum video releases, the first time I ever saw it, I didn't even know it was from TNT, because Hogan makes basically a smoothie with eggs and berries and oxidized protein powder and all this other stuff. And Vince tries it. Vince also tries some of the quote vitamins, unquote, and it puts it over as being strong. Of course, Vince is in a pinkish, purplish suit this entire program, which Hogan makes fun of, calling him Vicious Vince, and that the protein drink may change the color of his suit. But anyway, Alfred Hayes tries same and feigns getting sick, and you hear him getting sick in the background on the floor. If you've never seen this segment before, especially with what Hulk Hogan becomes with the steroid trial and everything, if this is before your era, worth going out of your way to see, because I mean they were pushing him as like a blend of Arnold Schwarzenegger, Lou Ferrigno, and Rocky, and every American hero you've ever heard of before at the time. Um, Also in the same segment, Wendy Richter takes a tape measure and measures the arm of Hulk Hogan, proving it is in fact 24 inches around. Again, they're really trying to get him over. So, iconic segment in the Hogan history. If you've never seen it, worth going out of your way to see. Other than that, the majority of this program is partially skippable. If you like comedy, maybe the midget match might be for you. If you like history and the knowledge that the Freebirds were here, one of maybe less than half a dozen television appearances for them in the WWF all time, so worth checking out there. But we will be back with more TNT reviews in just a moment. Keep your feet on the ground, your mind in the moment. Until next time, everybody.